Well, hi, and welcome to Father, Son, and Skillet. I'm Alden. This is my son, Owen.
And this is a 4-quart pot.
And today, we're going to make soup. Winter is almost over, but that doesn't mean we can't still enjoy a tasty, delicious soup made out of butternut squash. Stick around, we'll show you how it's done. Okay, first thing we need to do is skin this, peel it, and cut it into pieces that we can cook.
Also get out the seeds and such.
Right, the seeds are in this end, and the solid part of the flesh is in this, which reminds me of a story of two families that both enjoyed butternut squash. But one family would only eat the end with the seeds in it, and the other family would only eat the end that didn't have seeds in it. And so they coordinated and traded off squashes, both of them thinking the other family was getting the raw end of the deal. Now we begin to peel this. Just take your knife and go around like this. There we go. There we go. Okay, now that we have cut the squash, we'll put a little fire under the pot here, about a medium heat. And give it a half a stick of butter. I guess we neglected to mention that that was about a 3-pound squash when we started. So you can adjust your recipe accordingly if you want to make more.
So, one thing that has inspired our cooking a lot in recent years is this book by James Briscione.
Or Brishon,
Brishon, I have no idea. I've never heard it said.
But they have taken an ingredient, like a cucumber, and gone around with all of these flavor matches, and the farther out from the center they are, the better of the match they are.
It's based on the varieties of volatile compounds that give each ingredient their flavor. The higher the match, the more compounds or the more similar compounds within the same group ingredients have. It's a good jumping off point for surprise pairings or just a way to give a little bit of boost. And one thing we like to do is when you're building something, combine ideas, combine ingredients. If you're using X ingredient and therefore the matrix suggests Y, when you're looking for additional ingredients like spices, don't just match to your main ingredient, in our case here, squash. You can also match to other ingredients you've already added. For example, dairy products like butter.
In this example, Owen discovered that one of the better flavors with butternut squash or pumpkins or any winter squash is bay leaf. And that the butter and the dairy are complemented by ground mustard. And so those are the two main ingredients other than salt and pepper that go into this recipe. Now we've got this squash in with the butter. We'll stir this to coat, still over a medium flame.
And then we'll just let this cook until the squash starts to soften up and the corners start to round off.
Well, getting to this point where the outside of the squash is starting to soften and the corners are starting to get tender took about 10 minutes. So at this point, we take the next steps of seasoning it and covering it with broth. First of all, generous teaspoon of kosher salt, a half teaspoon of ground mustard, and about a quarter teaspoon of white pepper. You can use black pepper, but we're going for a smooth look that doesn't have any flecks in it. And one last ingredient, 1 bay leaf. And then the liquid, a quart of stock, or thereabouts. What we want to do
Is just cover.
just cover. If some tips are sticking out, that's pretty good. That amount of liquid will make a nice thick creamy soup when everything is done. So we'll bring it up to a boil and put a cover on it and leave it for about 45 minutes. Well, I said 45, but really it's more like 30 minutes. To get this bay leaf out of there, and I'll show you the texture you're looking for. You want to be able to basically just mash this squash with the spoon. Very tender. Just like that. So we'll turn the heat off and we'll go after it with the motorboat. If you don't have a motorboat, use an immersion blender.
All right, so let's give this a taste and see if we need to adjust anything.
All right, the texture, first of all, is about the way we like it. If you like your cream soups a little thinner or a little thicker, you can adjust your liquid accordingly. But this seems to be just about perfect. So a little taste test.
Might need just a little bit of salt.
We decided it needed just a little bit more salt, maybe a quarter teaspoon.
Just needed a little bit more brightness.
Now to serve this up, what we do is take a couple of generous ladles full into this bowl. That's a nice serving size, and there's plenty for seconds. And we'll garnish it with a nice swirl of Mexican crema. You could also use yogurt or a dollop of sour cream or some other vegan alternative to these things. But it's really tasty this way. So there you have it. Butternut squash soup. Thanks for joining us. Now, if you like this video, be sure to share it with your friends and like. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that and ring that bell. Just like that. Thanks for joining us on Father, Son, and Skillet.